Hi, I'm Jennifer, and welcome to the Krewe of Japan Podcast, a weekly podcast where we take you on audio journeys through Japanese culture.
This time on Krewe of Japan Podcast.
Anime lovers, rejoice! We've got another anime-related episode just for you. The most dominating category of anime has got to be shonen. In this episode, we'll discuss the reason why we think shonen anime has been so successful for all these years.
Just like One Piece has the power and the fandom to go on forever, I think Dragon Ball does too. I think Bleach has a lot of staying power.
What makes a good shonen anime?
Having strong characters, a strong character arc, a story that even it could be alien and set on another planet, but it's got to be relatable. It's got to speak to you as a person.
And call out a few series we think are noteworthy.
But I tell you one that resonates in something that you can turn people onto, even if they turn their nose up at anime. It's like, I couldn't get anime. Watch Full Metal Alchemist.
Maybe you've already been a fan of shonen anime and listening to this episode hoping we shout out your favorite series. Or maybe you've never dove into the world of shonen anime and hoping to get some insight from our discussion. Whatever the case, we hope you'll learn a little from this episode and renew or confirm your love for shonen anime with the help of our special guest, voice actor Kyle Hebert.
All right, and the crew is back, and we have Jenn with us. Hey, Jenn, long time no talk.
Hey, Doug. Yeah, long time. It doesn't seem like that for the podcast, but it has been a long time.
Yeah, the last episode we had was, I think, released in middle of August, and Jenn was on that one, but she's been on maternity hiatus for a couple months. So welcome back. And we have with us our special guest today, Kyle Hebert.
What's up? Hey there.
How you doing?
Oh, excellent. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, and for those who aren't familiar with Kyle, Kyle is a very well-known voice actor on some major hit anime series like Dragon Ball Z. You may have known his voice from Gohan, right? Adult Gohan. And
Adult Gohan, yeah. Who's, it's kind of on the big screen right now with Dragon Ball Superhero.
Yes, my husband has been begging to go into the theaters to watch it.
That's the only way to see it.
Yeah, and so many other titles. I know we're going to touch on that a little bit later on. But, first of all, before we kind of jump into the meat of our interviews, we like to just briefly ask our guests about their connection to New Orleans. And you are from Louisiana, Lake Charles. As we
the other side of the state. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and you had mentioned too previously that you have been to New Orleans for a couple conventions. So what we like to ask you is, what is your favorite thing about New Orleans that from your times that you have come? And what is your fondest memory?
I would say the food, having Cajun in my lineage, loving that spicy, super fattening, awesome, you gain 10 pounds just looking at the menu.
Yeah.
It's so worth it, though. The memories are, of course, stopping by seeing the French Quarter, going to Café du Monde, and eating some local cuisine. Although I didn't get too far out of the downtown area, unfortunately, due to time limitations and commitment to the convention. But the convention folks kind of went us and took us on the tour. We did the haunted walking tour, which was very, very interesting.
Oh, nice.
Fantastic. So much history in that city. And I was just chomping at the bit to get to experience what it's like down there because, you see it on movies and TV. Does it match up to that? And strangely enough, being from Louisiana, I had never, ever visited New Orleans before, even though I had a cousin who lives in Metairie. We just never got to that side of the state because most of our family was in the Lake Charles area at the time.
Yeah.
So,
well, I feel like Lake Charles too has some pretty good Cajun food, and you're not too far removed from like Lafayette and Acadiana area and all that fun stuff. So.
Well, and then you're so close to like Texas line, so I mean it's probably easier to get to Texas than New Orleans, honestly.
Yeah, you're 2 hours away from Houston. You're pretty close to stuff, and then Shreveport's not too far away either. And
Well, something that we usually ask our guests as well is like their Japan journey. But obviously for you, I have the honor of asking, what is your anime journey? You know, what got you into like knowing and discovering anime and then eventually working as a voice actor in the industry?
I started watching anime before it was known as anime. Back then, it was a cartoon was a cartoon. So in the 70s, I was watching Speed Racer, Battle of the Planets, Star Blazers, all this stuff that got licensed right after Star Wars hit, and then there was this mad rush to license Japanese shows and put really bad dubs on them. And all that, and then through the 90s, it was known as Japanimation.
Yes.
I was watching things like the original Vampire Hunter D, Akira, or we called it Akira back then, not Akira. You know, all sorts of stuff. And I was watching Robotech, Voltron, you know, a little bit of Transformers. But yeah, and then I just saw things as they grew, because I'm 53. You know, I grew up way long time ago. So my journey has been a long one, but ever since I was a child, I wanted to voice act for cartoons, for animation, and I ended up getting a broadcast degree because I wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to be a DJ too. Very shy, very introverted. I wanted to entertain. I didn't want people to look at me. So if you're behind a mic in a room and you know you're entertaining that way, that was like, that sounds like a good. You know, I had trouble memorizing dialogue, so I wasn't active in school plays or any of that stuff. But the acting thing still interested me. But I ended up getting a broadcast degree and starting a radio career all through the 90s. And halfway through that, I'm, you know, become full-time on the air with Radio Disney, kids radio format. And that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was a DJ on the air with that. And that was a ton of fun because we got to do voice acting. We were doing audio dramas and character voices, all sorts of stuff. And this little show called Dragon Ball Z started airing in the States around the same time. And I became a fan instantly. I fell in love. Piccolo was the first character I saw. And I was like, oh, my gosh, great. I go around imitating next time on Dragon Ball Z. Fast forward to 2000. The radio station co-workers heard about open auditions at Funimation in Dallas, where I was based. And I went in, tried out, and I read as Teen Gohan when Gohan goes to high school.
Oh, okay.
And got cast in some bit parts first because they wanted to see, is this actor going to be able to handle doing lip sync and acting and taking direction? It's the most technical, hardest kind of voice acting there is, even though it's the lowest paying.
Sadly, yes.
Sadly, yes. Not a lot of respect. It's the red-haired stepchild of the VO industry, sadly, despite the popularity, especially seeing in theaters is anime.
I
Sorry,
know.
Elba.
That's so crazy, yeah.
But yeah, that started my journey. I've been voice acting for 22 years. Started with Dragon Ball Z and got into other things. Yu Yu Hakusho, Full Metal Alchemist.
Yep.
Moved to LA, get on to Bleach, Naruto,
Yep.
Gurren Lagann, Street Fighter, Fire Emblem, some bit parts in the Final Fantasy series through the years, some zombies in Resident Evil, all sorts of stuff. My Hero.
Yes, My Hero Academia, yeah.
Yeah, Fat Gum. He's back here. My big
I know,
boy.
I saw him. I was like, oh, so cute.
Yes. And Escanor's been getting a lot of love from Seven Deadly Sins as well.
I haven't watched that one yet. That's on the to-do list.
All on Netflix.
Yes, it is. Well,
I gotta wrestle my son off of Netflix first before I can watch it. That's the problem.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, you know, to get into the meat of our conversation today, which is the whole shonen anime, there are a lot of shonen anime out there, more than we could ever imagine in the catalog. So, you know, my question to both of you to just kind of like think about is, what makes a good shonen?
Well, I think this is part of any good story. Having strong characters, a strong character arc, a story that even it could be alien and set on another planet, but it's got to be relatable. It's got to speak to you as a person. And the more relatable it is, the more meaningful it becomes. And, you know, if everyone's doing their job, they've got a good story, they've got a good cast, it's got good animation that really works, and everything clicks together. It's so many people behind the scenes go to fashion anime, and especially in shonen with how action oriented it is and how popular it is, and reaching a mainstream audience, and doing so well instead of something niche like you think it might be. I used to think Dragon Ball Z, it's like, oh, it's a sausage fest. It's just for dudes. It's like, oh no, the female audience is almost bigger for that show. So yeah, I think when you boil it down, strong characterization.
Strong characters, yeah, because like we had an episode prior to this one where we talked about manga, and you know, we talked about all the different kind of like genres, so like shoujo, shonen, seinen, josei, talking about like the audience genre per se. And so, you know, there is a huge gap between shonen and shoujo, for example. So I mean, for any good anime, you obviously do want good characters. In my opinion, though, what really makes shonen stand out to me, because I watch more shonen anime than actually read shonen manga.
Okay.
And in my opinion, it's the animation is what really stands out to me. So like, you know, Naruto, the fight scenes, amazing. I can't even imagine reading Naruto because I want to visually see those fight scenes come to life. So that's just my opinion, though.
Jen, you're onto something there, though, because I absolutely agree. I don't really watch as much anime anymore just because, again, time restrictions and stuff like that, of being able to get in front of a TV for extended periods of time. And some of these shonen shows are kind of long, you know. So it's hard. It's a big commitment. So I actually have the Shonen Jump manga app, and I read a lot of stuff on there. But I'm reading like One Piece right now. I'm about 400 issues in, or 450, I think. Getting through. I'm chugging along. But sometimes it's really hard to follow the action because it is like that cell by cell. And also reading My Hero Academia, like those fight scenes are
the fight scenes are so good on the anime.
And that's where I don't want to say I struggle with it, but I'm watching and I have to like go back and reread after I read through it. I have to go back and look at the panels again just to say, oh, that's what's happening as a result, because there are some that where it's just like kapow, you know, like kapow, but like where it's like, you know, impacts happening, or like fists hitting each other, or somebody's getting punched or something like that. And I think it just transcends, or not transcends, but it shows the story better through animation than it does through the manga.
For sure, because I even voted for Hawk's fight scene for the Crunchyroll Awards, because I was like, that scene was so good in My Hero. I was like, it needs to win.
Yeah, and I got to say, there's incredible fight scenes in Dragon Ball Superhero just because of the integration between 2D and 3D CG stuff, that you're getting dynamic camera angles that you couldn't really, not easily, with 2D.
So have you heard from fans, and this is kind of off topic a little bit, but that style of animation, has it off-put anybody from deviating from the traditional like Dragon Ball Z? Like,
there's a portion of the audience that most people were off-put by the trailers in the beginning, and then we saw more trailers and started saying, okay, all right, this is cool, I can get used to this. And then there's still some that are just like, nope, CG's terrible, I hate it. And I think it's awesome. It's a great evolution. I don't think it's it's not like they animated it like the Final Fantasy Spirits Within kind of CG or Advent Children. That would have been too jarring to do. So you got to keep grounded in those basic character designs, and maybe add the fluidity of dynamic backgrounds to it and all that. Some people, I was reading today a comment that's like, it just looks like a PS3 game. It's like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. A lot of the current fighting games based on these shonen properties, it's like you're playing the anime because it's cell shaded and everything. And I think it's just, again, a natural progression of animation. And I hope they continue that trend. Honestly, I think it looks really nice.
Well, I mean, if you look at Dragon Ball when it started, I mean, the style of animation's evolved over time. So it's only natural that it's going to continue to evolve, right? Like, it just makes sense. So And I'm sure some people, when they changed like the stylistic nature of like the early Dragon Ball, where it was a little bit more, I don't even know how to describe it, but like it was, yeah, I don't really know how, but it just, you could watch a change. I think it was a big jump from the Frieza saga to Cell. I think that was like kind of when you noticed the big change in the animation style. Maybe halfway through Frieza saga. I don't know.
I think it's true in any show, whether it's a cartoon or anime or manga. I mean, it starts a certain way. You ever go back and just see what The Simpsons look like on their premiere episode?
Oh, yeah.
Night and day. They even sounded completely different. So it takes a while for any property to kind of establish its footing. And then once it does, it just starts to just click into place, you know?
For sure. So another question, we already kind of touched on this a little bit, about you, that you were an anime fan. You watched a lot of shows growing up, and then as an adult as well, and even now. So you mentioned some earlier, and you mentioned some of the shows you work on, but what is maybe your top 3 favorite anime, and what are some recommendations of maybe upcoming things or things that you maybe recently watched that you're like, oh, that's gonna be really good, like that you have?
Well, like you were saying earlier, there's only so many hours in the day, and real life intrudes, so I don't really have a lot of time. What I've seen of My Hero, I totally get why it's popular. I got through season 1, and I watched my episodes as Fat Cum. I was so jonesed to see that. And I've only seen what I've recorded on One Piece, but One Piece has such a huge fandom. I could never start, though. Over 1,000 episodes. Not like that.
Me, I'm never. I can't. Too long. Not going to do it. No way. No.
But I tell you one that resonates and something that you can turn people onto, even if they turn their nose up at anime. It's like, I couldn't get anime. Watch Full Metal Alchemist. Watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Watch Cowboy Bebop.
Yes.
I mean, all those episodes are fairly self-contained. And, it's from the mid-'90s, but it's just as good today as it was back then.
Still golden.
Still gold. And the dub is revered, even by the Japanese creators. Like, your dub's better than our original. It's like, wow. So, true facts. It's hard to put, like, a third one, though. I mean, I'm a little biased, of course. Dragon Ball Z is such a huge thing. Little bit biased because I was started as a fan, and then it started my career. It got me started in VO, which is what I wanted to do anyway, when I got older. So, it's something that I've seen progress in fandom through the decades, literally. And now those kids watching Toonami back in the day are now grown up, and now they have kids, and now everyone's going as a family to conventions. 10 years ago,
that's me.
It was mostly teenage girls at a con and the occasional guy. Now it's families, dads, moms, kids. Everyone's cosplaying together, and it's so neat to see the community pretty tight knit. And the ones that aren't necessarily into anime, they're open to it. It's like, hey, my daughter just showed me this My Hero show, and it's really good. So I'm going to sit down and watch that with them.
I think accessibility too has been helpful for parents.
Oh, for sure.
It's there on Netflix. You don't have to go to Suncoast Video to go buy like VHS tapes like we had to do back in the day, or chase down DVDs, like online, because none of the stores locally had it.
Oh man, Suncoast, man, nostalgia bomb. Going in, seeing VHS. In anime, the dub was $30, but for $5 more, you get it subtitled.
Right.
Like, wow. Okay.
Yeah, the logic.
Yeah, and then there's the anime section, and then the Dragon Ball Z section right next to it. It's just so many volumes.
What hurt me the most was when they would halfway through stop doing the VHS side like pictures, like where they do like a picture all in the VHS boxes, and they would interrupt it, or something would happen where they stopped making it. The same like production company or whatever produced the VHS covers like didn't do it anymore. And so I had like incomplete, like 80% done VHS box sets, or what would have been a box set, making a picture. And I'm like, well, now that destroys the display of,
wah, wah.
Back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah. So one other thing about voice acting that I want to ask, you've done a lot of shonen anime, but you mentioned earlier, you've done other stuff too. What makes voice acting in shonen different from those other genres that you've worked on?
Well, even though you can have emotionally touching and resonant scenes, just like in any other genre, you've got that added element of let's trash your vocal cords with all the power-ups or fighting scenes and all that. And from a voice acting perspective, we're doing the dialogue first and saving the yelling stuff for the end of the sessions because they know that's you're going to end up sounding like you gargle razor blades at the end. Unless you're using little tricks like throat spray, throat coat tea, or Singer Saving Grace throat spray, or there's Chinese cough syrup or Chinese cough lozenges. Those work great. A couple spoonfuls of that magic goo, and you can survive a 2-hour screamathon, whether it's an anime or the video games that tie into it, or now, today's RPGs, fighting games, all that stuff. Anything involving the technical aspect of screaming your guts out. It all comes back to, wow, this is the tool of my trade. I got to make sure I don't damage it beyond repair.
Yeah, you should write a clickbait article saying 10 ways to not destroy your voice. You're not going to believe number 3 or something like that.
You'll never believe number 3. Yeah. Number 1, don't yell. What?
Well, we kind of discussed, some big titles in the shonen scene.
Yeah.
So my question is kind of like, why do we think shonen anime has pretty much dominated the anime scene for years and kind of continues to do so today?
I think it comes back to the characters being empowered and empowering. They're inspirational. I have lost track of how many people have told me that watching shows like Bleach, Naruto, even Gurren Lagann, these characters are... they pull them out of a depressive funk. It's almost like anime and entertainment in general is its own form of therapy. It's therapy without paying to go to a therapist. It's not only just escaping the harsh realities of life, but it may cause some introspection. And I think that's a key element that may inspire you to go down that path of, it's like, hey, I want to learn martial arts, or I want to do something physical. I want to become a wrestler, or it may just inspire you. I've met people that wanted to join the military or become an officer, all sorts of different inspiration. And it's really, really great to go to a convention and hear those personal stories about how these big shows, especially the shonen shows, have had such an impact on all genders, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Because now you hear nowadays of, at least back in my day when I was younger, it wasn't cool. You shouldn't be saying that you liked anime or whatever. But now you have all these celebrities coming out saying they love Naruto, they love Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, and I'm like, where did you come from? Like, when did you like this? Like, where were you years ago?
Yeah. Were they the ones bullying the anime kids? And then they're closet anime fans and like, don't tell my friends I like this stuff. Like, it's cool to be a nerd. And this is what's driving the most. This is why we have the MCU. This is why we have, huge fandoms, Harry Potter over the years, Lord of the Rings, and all this stuff. Because the fans they're just legion in number, and the box office and the movie studios, TV studios, you can't ignore it. You've got a fan base, and in the end, they're going to make profits because it's all a business at the end of the day. But sure. We're the fans are what drive the kind of media that we get. And
like Jen said, like the celebrities that are like speaking out about it. I mean, it kind of fits into your story. Like just recently, I think at Comic-Con, Zion Williamson, like the superstar basketball player for the Pelicans, he talked about how Naruto helped him like get through this like past year where he was battling with like injuries and like overcoming those difficulties. And there was like certain arcs in Naruto that really helped him relate and get through it. It's definitely come to the forefront. I mean, I saw ESPN last year during like the NBA finals or sometime during the NBA, they tweeted a Jujutsu Kaisen GIF from like the official ESPN Twitter account. Like it wasn't like some like fan. It was like the actual like just like saying this is what happened. Like memeing some kind of event in the show or in a game. which is it's crazy. It's so mainstream now.
Or Arby's over the past few years, they're manga themed ads. It's like, wow, this is brilliant. First of all, not only is it cool, but it's brilliant. The marketing team, it's like, we're going to tap into those fans. It's like, yeah.
Well, I think they're hiring those kids that are like really into this stuff, and like, let me show you what I can do, and then they do it, and they're like, oh, this actually works. Wow, okay.
What?
Sure.
Great. Anime is popular.
Yeah. Who'd have thought?
I think, not only is it that anime has become more accessible nowadays with streaming sites like Netflix, and then you have like Crunchyroll being the dominating one for anime specifically. But I do feel that nowadays, from let's say like the 90s and 80s, I feel like the shonen industry, like the anime industry for shonen specifically, they have the formula down now. They have it down well. They know what needs to be in the anime series to make it successful and make it easy to digest for many audiences. And I feel like that's what really has it down to a T these days. And one of those things is, anime tropes. Shonen has some guilty pleasures of anime tropes, whether they're good or bad. Kyle, can you think of some anime tropes for us for shonen anime that you could think of on top of your head?
Oh, gosh. I've lost count of how many times I've heard, I must train harder.
Yes, the training arc.
I've got to keep going. I got to I got to get the thing. And in order to get the thing, I've got to do the thing. And to do the thing, I have to,
Yeah.
It's always that internal monologue. A lot of monologuing, for sure.
Yes, a lot of monologuing, for sure, for sure. Then you have those... Flashbacking, yes. Like, my childhood was so tough, and then you have the flashback of the childhood.
It's like we have to get deep into reach deep into the past and learn about the trauma. So it's like, okay, tell us why you're crazy today. Tell us why. I'm not evil. I'm just misunderstood.
Oh my gosh. And then of course you have all the different arcs in the anime. So like for My Hero Academia, you have the battle tournament arc, and that's just like a huge thing because Yu Yu Hakusho even had a tournament arc, honestly. Yes. So tournament arcs, love them.
I had a character in the Dark Tournament arc of Yu Yu Hakusho, Karasu.
Yes, you did.
Fights Kurama, yeah.
Oh, wait, that was you?
Yeah, the long hair with the mask.
Oh,
he was doing face masks long before COVID. He's just like, that's for hippie.
What a forward thinker. I'm trying to think of any other tropes, though. Like, I think that's pretty much it, right? It's just the introspection of those dudes and the endless, what you think is the most powerful villain in the world or the universe. There's always another.
Always another.
Comes back, like Frieza. I don't know how many times he's come back.
It's not even their final form. Yes.
Yes.
Very, very important. I mean, there's typical just anime tropes in general where every character is like, huh? What? Or everyone in unison, what? Or they all say the same phrase together, we can't do that. It's like, it's kind of a hyper reality, Yeah.
Also, the main character's always got like a bottomless pit stomach.
Yes.
I don't know if it's every show, but like the big three, like Naruto, One Piece, Dragon Ball, like Goku, Luffy, or Luffy. I don't know.
Yeah,
like I said, I read it, so I read it.
A lot of food. There's a food obsession going on for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
You put away some meat and ramen.
You know it.
Well, something that shonen anime is really well known for, and Doug kind of, pointed it out, is the length of these series sometimes. Oh my gosh, they are forever lasting. There are many shonen anime that have taken like years to either finish, and some are still going on today, like One Piece. The Naruto series with Boruto is still alive, and you're Kiba in that series, which Kiba's awesome.
Yay.
And then the Dragon Ball series is still going on today, which blows my mind.
Let's not forget Bleach. Bleach was done years ago.
It's
And now it's
resurrecting.
coming back. The final arc of the manga is getting animated. It's dropping in October in Japan, and hopefully soon after. We're all chomping at the bit to work on it again on the English side.
I know. I'm
nice.
so excited. You have no idea. I'm like, oh my gosh, Bleach is back. My childhood has resurrected.
I am ashamed to say I've never watched Bleach.
I haven't either. I've only seen my parts.
Oh, but it's so good, guys. You need to watch it. I promise.
Okay.
It's on the list. It's on the list.
I almost went online. Viz offered a digital special for all the seasons for $100. I almost got it.
You were tempted, I see.
I was tempted.
You gotta get through One Piece first, right?
One Piece? No, I can't.
Never.
can't.
Don't do it, Kyle.
Golly, we started recording that in 2001, 2002, maybe.
Yeah. So what's the longest anime series that you've watched?
That I've watched, I would probably say Z.
Okay. Yeah.
I've only seen parts of Dragon Ball, but I've seen pretty much every episode of Z. I watched a handful of GT. We'll just forget about that,
Yeah. What's GT?
I love Trunks in GT.
Okay, you love one character, but do you
Yes.
love the story in GT?
No, but I love Trunks.
You love Trunks. Okay, that's okay. We like when side characters get the love. It can't be all Goku and Vegeta. It's like
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Well, anyway, as an anime fan, do you enjoy having these lengthy shonen series, or is there such a thing as too long of a series?
It seems to me, now I haven't watched One Piece, but on the outside looking in, it looks like, really, is there stories really left to tell? But if I were on the inside, just like I'm a lifelong Star Wars fan, will I feel that there's ever enough stories to tell? Probably not.
Right.
But again, your mileage will vary depending on who you ask and whether they've seen the shows or not. I think, just like One Piece has the power and the fandom to go on forever, I think Dragon Ball does too. I think Bleach has a lot of staying power, and Naruto as well. Even if they don't make new shows, I think the fandom is going to just stick around because it's resonating so hardcore with today's teens and 20-somethings and 30-somethings.
I know when I see younger fans say their favorite is Boruto, I'm like, oh my God, we're at that phase now where it's not Naruto being the favorite, it's Boruto. I'm like, oh my Lord, where is the time gone?
It's like, you got to go back and watch where that came from. We got to learn about your dad, Boruto.
Back to the beginning, back in the day.
They're just gonna flash back to old episodes and just show the episode in the episode.
When Naruto beat Kiba in the tuning exams by farting in his face.
Oh gosh.
So, when you're doing all these characters in these shows, what do you say makes the perfect shonen protagonist? What are the elements of that protagonist? We already mentioned the bottomless pit stomach, but that's kind of like a side, side characteristic. But the main ones, what is the one that, or maybe I don't know, what few do you see in across animation that you've really, it seems like a recurring trend?
Youth.
Yeah.
Young dudes.
Well, if you can have long series.
Boy dudes.
You gotta have a young guy to start because they gotta go through a long ass series like One Piece or Naruto or something. They gotta grow.
Yeah. Misunderstood. Misfits. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Again, relatable to so many people. They may not be, I'm not young and pretty like this character, but I relate to this aspect of this character. And it's like, okay, I'm in, I'm hooked. I want to go on this journey.
Yeah. Definitely. And when you have to act out as one of these characters, what do you do to prep? What is it? Do you have like you mentioned earlier, the throat lozenges and things like that to prepare your voice for like those battle scenes or something like that. But is there a lot of mental prep, like emotional, like you have to get yourself to a place in order to portray one of these characters?
I don't feel I have a certain protocol or regimen to get in the zone. I just kind of do. And this comes from years of just going in there and going for it, that improv.
Yeah.
Being able to just, we're going to give you bullet points. This is what you're acting off of, and go. And that's what we do in anime dubbing is we know nothing before our session starts. And then, we have our script with all the cues in numerical order, and the video has a time code so the engineer can sync it up and cue right to the line and all that stuff. But there's no time for a dry rehearsal, a dry run. There's no researching. There's no time. And there's no budget to pay us to sit here and do the research, to read the manga or watch the show or study the script. We're blank slates. The director has to say, all right, this is going on, this is going on. And in this scene, this is happening. Preview the line in Japanese, do it in English. Okay, that's good. Or do it again. And then move on down. Lather, rinse, repeat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was going to ask if you did do any research, or if you now I feel like nowadays the turnaround time between when something's released in Japan and the US, it's a lot quicker now than it used to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Even manga, I think Shonen Jump app, I think they come out simultaneously. They do the simul drop, so there's no spoilers out there or anything like that. So, you don't really have as much of an opportunity to even research nowadays than you did maybe when a full series was released in Japan and then it came to the US after. You didn't know the full story of a character that you're going to be acting out.
With a lot of those simul dubs too, you don't even necessarily have the benefit of seeing mouth flaps because the animation's not done. You're looking at a really crude animatic or like a barely moving comic strip panel, basically, and you have to hope that the mouth flap's going to match. So all we have to use as a reference is the Japanese audio.
Yeah.
So a series like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is probably hell for voice actors when it comes to like research beforehand.
Well, not so much for the actors. I think, that responsibility lies on the director. The director is the conductor. He's assembling the jigsaw pieces of all the different actors coming in, scheduled, recording one at a time, and reviewing the story, making sure the performances flow so we sound like we're acting off of each other in the same room, even though we're not. And especially during the pandemic when everyone's recording from different recording environments. My recording space, my mic versus someone else's mic and their recording space or a closet and whatnot, and having it mixed in Pro Tools and sweetened and filtered and all that stuff to sound consistent. So kudos to the engineers, especially to make all this magic. But anime you've been watching for the past few years during these pandemic times, it's been just a magic show. It's been a miracle between recording at home and the engineers really working their butts off to make it sound really polished.
I can imagine.
Did you have to invest in a lot of your own equipment over the last few years that you didn't have previously? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a good mic and a good preamp to plug it into, and then that interface goes directly into my Mac. And yeah, I mean, I ended up getting a better interface. I didn't have to, but I thought, okay, well, I'm working more. I'm going to go ahead and invest in my craft, and yay, tax write-offs.
Yeah,
so,
right.
So do all that. But some people did have to sit there and, plunk down thousands of dollars to get a fancy recording booth constructed. I am blessed with a really nice walk-in closet. I put some minimal acoustic foam and everything that makes a closet. That is sound absorption enough, knock on wood. The engineer said, hey, your place sounds really great. So,
are y'all still recording from home, or are y'all back in the studio now?
It's a mixture. It's a hybrid. Sure. It's depends on actors, if they're comfortable going in. A lot of the studios have a protocol now where they wipe everything down with sanitary wipes, and they run HEPA filters in between sessions and all sorts of things. So some studios are like, you have to wear a mask when you're in there, unless you're recording and you're by yourself in the booth and all that sort of thing. So it's probably safer than it ever was before. But for those who are immunocompromised and they still got to work, the studios have been really understanding and all that. And honestly, I'm spoiled. I love recording from home. I don't want to schlep across town and sit in traffic. You know, I live in Burbank, and that's like 45 minutes away from like Culver City or Santa Monica. And it's like, can I just hop in my booth and connect? It'll sound just as good. I promise.
So I had this wasn't a question we had planned, but something I just thought of. Have you ever had the chance to meet any of the Japanese voice actors for the characters that you've played?
Yeah, with Dragon Ball especially. I've met Masako Nozawa, and I met Vegeta's voice actor, and I've met Piccolo and Videl.
That's great.
Frieza. I've met Kamina's actor from Gurren Lagann.
Nice.
I've met Ichigo from Bleach, and he told me that Aizen's voice actor in Japan really likes my performance in English. It's like, whoa.
That's so sweet.
That's awesome.
That is neat. That is neat. And it's such a rare delight to get to meet people from the Japanese side, because so few cons can afford to get them over here. And especially with the pandemic, they're not, understandably, they don't feel safe sitting on a plane for 13, 14 hours to come over here.
Yeah, and then getting back over there is a pain too. It's not an easy turnaround anymore. You have to do all this testing stuff to get over there. So yeah, that's tough. But that's cool though that you get to hear feedback from the original like voice actors and say, yeah, that's we like you. You're good.
It's an honor to meet these people. These people are what cemented. They're the actual voices of those characters, and they're the reason that we have the opportunity to do an English version of these beloved shows.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Because your Kamina is like fantastic. Let me just say, the dub for Gurren Lagann is the best, in my opinion.
That's awesome to hear. And I've heard countless fans talk about how inspirational the character and the show and that journey has meant to them.
It is. Kamina is probably like my husband's favorite anime character.
It's nice. And it's really cool that a show from 2008, 2009 still just as powerful. You know, when they come to my booth and they see that I have art prints of all my characters, and then they stop on Kamina, it's like, that is one of my favorite all-time characters. And it's a one-season show.
It is. It's so crazy that like you have all these great one-liners from an anime that you're in that like so many people still quote today.
Who the hell do you think I am? Yeah.
Yes. Drill that pierces the heavens.
That's right. Don't believe in yourself. Believe in me. Believe in the Kamina who believes in you.
Yes. I got you to say it. Okay. Goal accomplished. Got you to say it.
Now you can tell your husband. He's going to be super jealous.
Yep.
All right. Before we wrap up, I actually had a couple surprise questions for you.
Okay.
So these have nothing to do necessarily with what we talked about. Well, some of them do. But who is your favorite anime character of all time? Or let's say protagonist. Or one of those shades of gray where they kind of are good.
Protagonist. I still love Piccolo. I mean, he's been a bad guy in the beginning, I guess, in Dragon Ball, but he came around.
Yeah.
I love how
the original, he was the original Vegeta in that regard, right? Like he was Vegeta before Vegeta.
It kind of was. But yeah. I mean, Goku's pretty lovable too. There's no doubt. But yeah.
I think I have more patience for Piccolo than Goku.
Yeah. He's a little more grounded. He's been more of a dad to Gohan than Goku has.
My god! I'll have to send you this tweet that I saw that had made a joke about that. I'm gonna send it to you. It's hilarious. Jen, I don't even know if I sent it to you. I think I did.
No, you didn't.
It was this one guy. He did like this comedy skit on Twitter. It's like a 30-second bit, but basically where it was like he was like a football coach coaching Goku on a fight, and then Piccolo's there and Vegeta's there, and he's like basically talking trash to him like he's a coach talking to players. And then Goku and Piccolo get into it, and then he says something like, "Piccolo's been more of a dad to Gohan than you have," and and everyone just like stops and stares. It was great. All right, sorry. That was I didn't even think about that until just now. But next question: favorite New Orleans food?
Oh,
your go-to dish when you came into town?
It's between etouffee and jambalaya.
Right. You're a rice person.
I am.
Gotcha.
And boudin, you can't go wrong with that.
Well, you got better boudin like closer to Lake Charles than you do in New Orleans. Let's be real. Like
Really?
Billy's
Okay.
boudin out in what is it, Rain? I think right past Lafayette.
Yeah.
There's some
the
good stuff
Lafayette
off the
area had
highway.
some good ones.
I think my favorite was like it was called Boudin Balls, and it was basically Hush Puppies. They had this in
Yeah.
Lake Charles. Amazing.
Oh yeah, those are so good. Do you miss it? Like in LA, do you have opportunities to eat anything like that there?
Not really. I haven't gone to any supposed authentic Cajun cuisine restaurants. There are some, but I need to dig a little deeper. I just have a feeling it's just it'd be like having sushi in Iowa. How good can it be?
Like the posh version of like Cajun food, where they say it's Cajun, but it's like some kind of like hybrid thing where they put a twist on it. You're like, no, not quite.
Why is there kale in my gumbo? You know.
Yeah. All right. And I was gonna see, could you say in your Dragon Ball Z narrator voice this time on Krewe of Japan Podcast?
This time on Krewe of Japan Podcast.
There you go. All right. I just wanted to hear that. That's awesome. That's
That was
awesome.
great.
You want it next time too? Do you do a preview? Do you want to next time on Krewe
You
of
can do
Japan?
that too. I'll take it if you have it.
I'll get it to you. Here we
Let's
go.
do it.
Next time on Krewe of Japan Podcast.
All right, there we go. We got our new intros here.
Awesome. Love it.
I love it. Thank you so much. That was hilarious. Oh
You're
man,
very welcome.
I know you got to head out in a couple minutes. So before we wrap up, Jen, did you have anything else?
No, just it was an honor to have you on the podcast. Longtime
Thank you.
fan. You've inspired so many. You have been a great example in the community, and just keep it up, Kyle. You're doing fabulous.
Hey, I appreciate the support. Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words. And thanks to the fans around the world that keep this art form alive in 2022. Nowhere to go but up, and make Hollywood go, what is this anime thing that's so popular?
We should turn it into live action. That's what that's
Yeah, no. Don't do that. Maybe put some more money, put some studio dollars so we have higher budgets, maybe, so we have more
Agreed.
shows.
Yeah.
But leave the anime art form in its pure form, just give us more of what we have.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. But thank you guys. It means the world that I get to do something I love for a living, that I get so touched by the stories of inspiration and happiness and entertainment, laughter, tears, whatnot. And I hear about it all the time, thanks to social media and the conventions and getting to do podcast interviews and hearing your personal stories too. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And you mentioned social media. Where can people find you on social media, or anything you have coming up, or any upcoming events where you're going to be at cons? And
I do. My next big con is Salt Lake Fan X in Salt Lake City. That's coming up the end of September, I believe. And I'm on Twitter all the time and Instagram at Kyle Hebert, Hebert. I have my own podcast. It's comedy/geek news. It's a solo podcast I do. I create my own characters and interact with them. So it's really weird. Theater of the mind. I talk to a couple stoner aliens. I got a conspiracy theorist, a Karen who calls in. I voice it, but I pitch it up and make her sound like a really bitchy valley girl. All sorts of wacky stuff. And I talk about things like Predator, Prey, and Aliens, and Marvel, and tech, and all sorts of stuff. It's called the Intergalactic Boombox. So search Intergalactic Boombox anywhere you listen to podcasts, and I would much appreciate.
you got a new subscriber right here. I'll tell you that right now.
Awesome.
The podcast get me through my workday, so I'm glad I have another one to add to the queue.
Yeah, and what's nice about it is only 15 minutes. So it's like your commute to work or school, and it's one and done. Once a week, every Friday, brand new 15-minute episode.
Great.
Yeah, probably trying to play all those characters. You can only last 15 minutes with that, huh?
That's true. I have to record one back and forth, one at a time, and then I cut out each clip and then overlap them so it sounds like a conversation actually happening in real time. So throw in some sound effects, some a cappella soundtrack music that I do myself in multi-tracks, like it's like really stupid, really silly, but it's fun, and I love doing it.
That's great. That's it. I actually started editing for this season, and it's been a learning curve, but it's kind of fun though. I like it. It's a different side of creativity that I haven't really tapped into before.
feels really gratifying when you finish a big audio editing job. I'm sure it's the same for video editing too, but video looks daunting. I couldn't imagine doing video.
Yeah, same. No.
Uh,
Yeah, the final product, I listen to it, I'm like, okay, it's a sense of relief, but also like accomplishment. You're like, all right, I did that. That sounds pretty good. Okay.
it's posted. It's out there for the world to consume.
Be free, my child. But but yeah, thank you again so much. We don't want to keep you much more. This has been so much fun, and in the future, if we do another anime episode, we'd love to have you back. Yeah, if you're free and the schedule permits, we'll be in touch.
I'd be honored. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Krewe of Japan podcast. We were lucky enough to discuss the workings of shonen anime with our special guest, voice actor Kyle Hebert. We discussed the success of shonen anime and what to expect from the shonen series. What's your favorite shonen anime? Let us know. Share with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and now TikTok at Krewe of Japan Podcast. That's KREWEOFJAPAN Podcast. While you're there, follow, like, all that good stuff, and let us know how you are enjoying our podcast. That's it for today. Until next time.